let's talk about what I like to call the women's hierarchy of health. This conversation comes up, I'd say 90% of time that I'm on free consults with women. And so I thought it would be good to make a little video. So, what is the women's hierarchy of health? This is just a little visual that I put together because I am seeing so often that women, it's very trendy to talk about hormones, perimenopause. I feel like everything kind of gets chalked up to, oh, you're in perimenopause, right? And then we go chasing sex hormones. And when there's a lot going on underneath the surface, and as a functional medicine nurse practitioner, it is my job to know how all body systems are connected, what sex hormones are, how they're influenced by all of these other things kind of underneath the surface. So let's talk about this a little bit. So many times on these consults with people or in my DMs, they're saying, I'm, in my 30s or 40s. I think I might be in perimenopause, but I'm having fatigue, hair loss, dry skin. My periods are different. I've got constipation, bloating, reflux, some gut stuff going on. I'm aches and pains, maybe some food sensitivities, mood swings or irritability, what have you, right? Kind of symptoms from head to toe. And, everyone has set up a shop to treat hormone problems these days. And so they go in, they get their hormones checked, they maybe try some hormone replacement therapy, or they're told you have estrogen dominance or you have low progesterone. And so they're given like hormone balancing supplements, that type of thing. But I want you to understand this. Look at this visual here. Sex hormones are the very tippy top. Those are, above the surface there because that's they are chemical messengers that are responding to your internal and external environment. So internal environment being your gut health, stress levels, insulin and blood sugar, thyroid. So all of this is kind of beneath the surface that are the foundations of your health. And then the sex hormones are kind of the not the victims, but they're responding to all of this, that's going on with these systems of the body here. It works vice versa. So sex hormones do influence all of this as well. But we find that when we look at gut health, when we look at stress, when we optimize the thyroid, all of these other things, these symptoms that could be chalked up to, oh, it's your sex hormones, it's your estrogen, it's your progesterone, it's your testosterone. We look deeper. We find a lot of imbalances here underneath the surface. We optimize those things, and then what do you know? Shoot, it didn't actually turn out to be just the sex hormones. And also, the sex hormone imbalances tend to work themselves out when we treat all of the underlying issues. So for instance, your gut health. If you're constipated, if you're not clearing estrogen properly, which happens through the gut and by good gut health, then you're going to have a backup of estrogen, which is called estrogen dominance, right? And so we're often being labeled with these things like, you have estrogen dominance. Well, to me, that immediately goes gut health, because if we're not clearing estrogen, that means we've got gut issue, that means we've got liver, something going on there, maybe the thyroid, because, if you've got a sluggish thyroid, you've got sluggish everything, including clearance of estrogen, right? So to just say, be stuck here kind of chasing sex hormones, trying to balance your sex hormones, I'm not saying that's not a real thing. Of course it is. But a lot of times women are just stuck here and no one is digging deeper into what else could be going on. A lot of times I also see women, they're doing the hormone balancing tips and tricks and hacks and supplements and maybe even some hormone replacement therapy, which I am not against those things. Like, great, they're often good for some of these things down here as well. But they find that, oh, that supplement that I was promised that would like balance my hormones, it didn't really work. Or, maybe hormone replacement therapy, it took care of some of my issues, but over time it just kind of stopped working. I hear that a lot with pellets, like, ooh, it was great in the beginning, like, oh my gosh, life changing, and then a few months down the road you just don't get that same bang, the same kind of effect over time. And so then they're coming to me saying, okay, I've done this, I've done that, I've done all the things, like, what else could it be? And I'm like, let me tell you about the women's hierarchy of health, because I often find that none of these other things have been looked into, or they just haven't been looked into thoroughly. So Keep in mind, sex hormones, they're the tippy top of the iceberg. Sex hormones are chemical messengers that are responding to your internal environment. So if your thyroid is off, you better believe your sex hormones are also going to be off. Same with the gut, with adrenals and stress and blood sugar, okay? So that is, in a nutshell, is my women's hierarchy of health. And so, yes, then women are told, oh, it's just, you can take some vitamin D, low iron, you have estrogen dominance, maybe low progesterone, you're probably in perimenopause, take some hormone balancing supplements, maybe, get a food sensitivity test and eliminate 20 foods to try to lower inflammation and help out your hormones, eliminate gluten, maybe take a probiotic, do a leaky gut powder. All of this is very, very surface level and just kind of hanging out here on the surface when, it's much more, you can get much more in depth with these things, and that's what I do. So check out my other videos for more information about, the gut thyroid connection, for, should you go gluten-free? There's a whole video on that, my PTH gut healing framework. So make sure to check out those videos, but I hope you learned something here, and I'll see you next time.